Sophie Cunningham just did something that has the entire WNBA shook. And if you're not paying attention to what's happening with the Indiana Fever right now, you're missing the biggest story in women's basketball. Before we dive into this explosive situation, make sure to hit that subscribe button because we're breaking down the most insane developments in the WNBA that nobody else is talking about. What Sophie Cunningham has been doing on the court lately isn't just impressive, it's downright scary for every other team in the league. And here's the thing that nobody wants to admit. She might actually be more valuable to the Indiana Fever than some of their highest paid players. Yeah, I said it. And by the end of this video, you're going to understand exactly why Caitlin Clark herself.
So I am all for people asking for raises. So let me start with that. I don't have a problem with the WNBA players asking for a raise. The WNBA is on a hot streak. I don't care about the previous 24, 25 years. As an investment, it's starting to pay off. And so this week they wore T-shirts saying, making a statement, you better pay us. But instead of just leaving it at that, a Kelsey Plum for LA had to...
is reportedly pushing for this move behind the scenes. Let's talk about what just went down. Because Sophie Cunningham isn't just playing basketball anymore. She's completely rewriting what it means to be a role player in the WNBA. 16 points on just 10 shots. That's not normal efficiency. That's elite territory. But here's where it gets even crazier. While everyone's focused on the scoring, they're missing what she's really bringing to the table. 27 minutes of absolute defensive chaos that doesn't even show up in the stat sheet. 1 steal. The stats say 1 steal, but if you actually watch the game, you saw her force at least 5 turnovers just by being in the right place at the right time. And can we talk about the disrespect for a second? Do you know how many times Sophie Cunningham was wide open in the corner and got completely ignored by her teammates? I counted at least 7 possessions where she was standing there, hands ready, perfect shooting position, and they just looked her off like she wasn't even there. If Sophie got the touches she deserved, we'd be looking at 25 points easy. But here's the thing.
Take a dig at Caitlin Clark. Here she is.
The T-shirt, just United Front, was determined this morning that we had a meeting for. And, not to tattletale, but 0 members of Team Clark were very present for that.
Oh, boy. Listen, NBA players make 50% of revenues. WNBA players make 9%. And now the merch sales are up 500% and attendance is up, 40%. So they're going to get a raise. There's no question. And I don't really care that the previous 25 years, they didn't make a lot of money.
She doesn't complain. She doesn't force bad shots. She just keeps moving, keeps defending, keeps making the right play. That's the difference between a good player and a championship piece. The comparison everyone's afraid to make is the one I'm about to drop on you right now. Sophie Cunningham is playing at a Bridget Carlton level, but with way more versatility. Carlton's great, don't get me wrong, but Sophie's out here playing 4 different positions in a single game. Point guard, check. Shooting guard, obviously. Small forward, all day. Power forward, she's done it. She's literally played center for the Phoenix Mercury. Name another player in the league who can do that effectively. I'll wait. Here's what's really happening behind closed doors. And this comes from sources close to the Fever organization. They know they need to build around Caitlin Clark and Aaliyah Boston, right? That's obvious. But what they're realizing is that having another traditional scorer, like some teams do, isn't the answer. They need players who can adapt, who can fill gaps, who can make everyone else better without needing the ball in their hands 24/7. Enter Sophie Cunningham. Let's break down her recent performances because this is where it gets absolutely insane. 16, 18, 17, 6, 12, 5.
You lost money. I don't care. They're in the middle of a negotiation and they're on a heater. So it doesn't really matter. I've said this before. I made an investment for 5 years and it lost money. And I got about 6 months left in the investment. And in the last 6 months, they started making cash. I'm not bailing on the investment. I want to finally get my money back. So they're going to get a raise. They're finally turning a corner.
15, 12, 11, 13, 16. You see that consistency? That's not luck. That's a player who knows exactly what her team needs on any given night. Some nights, she's dropping 18. Other nights, she's happy with 6 if it means setting up teammates for success. That basketball IQ is off the charts, and it's exactly what the Fever have been missing. The Kelsey Mitchell situation is interesting, too. Mitchell's been great. Absolutely fantastic, actually. But here's the elephant in the room that nobody wants to address. Mitchell needs the ball to be effective. She's a scorer, plain and simple. Sophie Cunningham. She scored 16 points today and probably touched the ball half as much as Mitchell did. That's efficiency you can't teach. That's knowing how to maximize your impact without disrupting the flow of the offense. And speaking of flow, let's talk about what Sophie does for spacing. When she's on the court, defenses have to respect her from anywhere. She's not just camping in the corner waiting for threes. She's shooting on the move, taking contested shots, pulling up from anywhere past half court if you give her too much space. That gravity she creates opens up driving lanes.
But and negotiating in any business is all about current momentum. It's not about 12 years ago. It's about current momentum. There are companies, I'll give you an example. When The Athletic, which is a subscription-based sports writing site, got purchased by the New York Times, The Athletic was losing $45 million a year. They bought it for scale. They bought it because at the time Biden, not Trump, was president. They were losing clicks. They weren't doing as well digitally, and The Athletic answered that bell.
For Caitlin Clark that simply don't exist with other players on the floor. The defensive side is where this gets really interesting, though. Everyone talks about offense in the WNBA, but championships are won on defense. Sophie Cunningham is out there picking up point guards at March 4th court. Sure, today it was just HVL, but she does this against all stars, too. She's got that dog in her that you can't measure with statistics. The way she fights through screens, the way she communicates on switches, the way she always seems to know where the ball's going before the offense does. That's veteran savvy that you usually only see in players who've been in the league for a decade. Here's a stat that's going to blow your mind. In the last 10 games, Sophie's played significant minutes. Her team is plus 92 when she's on the court. Plus 92. That's not a coincidence. That's impact. And before you say it's because she plays with starters, check this out. Even when she's running with a second unit, the numbers are ridiculous. Plus, 38 in limited minutes with bench players. She makes everyone around her better. The Indiana Fever's front office has to be looking at this and thinking about their future. They've got Caitlin Clark locked up. Aaliyah Boston's going nowhere. But after that, everything's up for grabs. KLS is solid but limited. Nalissa Smith has potential, but hasn't shown consistency. Kelsey Mitchell, as great as she is, might not be the perfect fit next to Caitlin. But Sophie Cunningham, she's literally the perfect complementary piece. Think about
Athletic still doesn't make money. They bought it for scale. Not every company that wins in negotiations or is sold is wildly profitable. But the projection for the WNBA going forward and the current momentum are really, really good. So the T-shirts don't bother me. But why do you take a shot at the Golden Goose, Caitlin Clark? You guys were flying before she arrived on one of those
starting lineup of Caitlin Clark, Sophie Cunningham, Lexi Hull, Aaliyah Boston, and either Alyssa Smith or a free agent big. That's switchable on defense. That's multiple ball handlers. That's shooting at every position. That's the type of lineup that wins championships, not just regular season games. The Lexi Hull development is huge, too. By the way, 4 of 6 from 3 today. That's not a fluke anymore. She's been building to this all season. And guess who's been in her ear about shot selection and defensive positioning? Sophie Cunningham. The mentorship aspect is something people don't talk about enough. Sophie's not just contributing on the court. She's making her teammates better in practice, in film sessions, in those moments between possessions when you need someone to calm things down. But here's where this story takes a crazy turn. The expansion draft is coming and teams are going to have to make tough decisions. Every team can only protect so many players. The Fever are obviously protecting Caitlin and Aaliyah. After that, it gets complicated. Do they protect Mitchell knowing she might leave in free agency anyway? Do they protect Nalissa Smith based on potential? Or do they protect the player who's actually showing championship-level impact right now? The smart money says you protect Sophie Cunningham.
And here's why.
She's entering her prime years. She's on a reasonable contract. She fits perfectly with your franchise players. And most importantly, she's proven she can perform in big moments. Remember last year's playoff push? Sophie was instrumental in multiple must-win games. That experience matters when you're trying to build a championship culture. Let's also address the elephant in the room about marketability. Sophie Cunningham moves the needle off the court, too. Her social media following has exploded. Jersey sales are through the roof. She's become a fan favorite not just because of how she plays, but because of how she carries herself. Professional, confident, but never arrogant. That's the type of player you want representing your franchise. The comparison to Jackie Young keeps coming up. And while Young is obviously elite, think about the cost difference. Jackie Young's going to command a max contract. Sophie Cunningham, she's giving you 70% of Young's production at 30% of the cost. In a salary cap league, that value is absolutely crucial. It allows you to spend money elsewhere, maybe on that elite wing defender or that veteran point guard who can run the second unit. And can we talk about the culture fit for a second? The Indiana Fever are trying to build something special. They want players who buy into the system, who don't need to be the star every night, who understand that basketball is a team game. Sophie Cunningham embodies all of that. She's never once complained about touches. She's
lines that made you pay for a cup of water. One of those airlines that is the planes are the color of a highlighter. Now you're flying private. Okay, if you're in a band and you're staying at the Motel 6 and you add a band member and now you're at the Ritz-Carlton, keep your issues to yourself. All right? You went from a Motel 6 in a sketchy part of town to a 4-seat.
She's never thrown a teammate under the bus. She just shows up, works hard, and produces. The advanced metrics tell an even crazier story. Sophie's effective field goal percentage is in the top 10 among all wings. Her turnover rate is microscopic. Her defensive rating when matched up against opposing teams' best perimeter players elite level. These aren't empty stats. These are winning plays that lead to winning games. Looking ahead to next season, imagine the possibilities. Caitlin Clark running pick and rolls with Aaliyah Boston while Sophie Cunningham spaces the floor. The defense helps on the roll. Caitlin kicks to Sophie, and it's either a wide-open three or a quick swing to Lexi Hull in the corner. That's modern basketball at its finest. That's the type of offense that scores 110 points on any given night. The defensive versatility is equally important. In today's WNBA, you need to be able to switch everything. Sophie can guard ones through fours effectively. Put her on a quick point guard. She's got the lateral quickness. Put her on a bigger wing. She's got the strength and IQ to hold her own. Put her on a stretch four. She's done it before, and done it well. That versatility allows the Fever to be multiple with their defensive schemes. Here's something else nobody's talking about. Sophie Cunningham's conditioning is absolutely elite. She's playing 27, 30 minutes, and still sprinting in transition in the fourth quarter. Still closing out hard on shooters, still